where does the name ACTS, Decentralized Real Estate, come from? I get the decentralized real estate part, but just explain that a little bit.
The name Acts literally is a reference to the book of Acts in the Bible. It's literally a reference to it. And, to anybody who's listening to this and is going to be a serious legalist, how dare you? This isn't the perfect exact interpretation of it. It's like, look, man, I'm just explaining this is where I got the inspiration. If I would have said I got the inspiration from the back of a, bubble gum, okay, then that's it. But in this case, I got the inspiration while reading the book of Acts. Okay, so I was leading a men's group, and we were reading through the Bible, and we were reading through the book of Acts, and we got to chapter 2. And in chapter 2, in the book of Acts, you have 3,000 people who gathered together on the day of the Pentecost. They all give their lives to Jesus, okay? And it says very clearly that they put their money together and started moving God's kingdom forward. And then in the next chapters, we find out about the early church and how they were moving forward. And one of the most important things about it was actually the land that they used, right? The land was what allowed them to be able to grow their own resources, establish their church, establish all this other stuff. So the place where some people go like, oh no, well, they donated land, it's like, great, okay, but in modern day language, if we were to translate it, okay, realistically, no, I don't expect people to be all donating, all their land and everything.
We live in a capitalistic society. Exactly. That can't be done, yeah.
It's not the same. So if you translate it to today's language and you gather 3,000 people together, then 3,000 people with the average home price in Texas or across the United States, 3,000 people would be worth about $1.5 billion, right? Wow. So with $1.5 billion, how much land could you actually purchase? And the answer is you can buy a ton of land, okay? Because what happens is when you're closer to the epicenter of a city, land skyrockets in price. Right. So people are used to, 0.2 acres. I mean, for actually a lot of people, a quarter acre is a lot. So like more like 0.1 acres for like $100,000, right? And then you go out a little bit further, you can get like 1 acre for $100,000, and a little bit further, 10 acres, for $100,000, right? Or $200,000, something along those lines. Well, if you have a really good piece of land, what happens is that you've got so many people who are competing for that piece of land that's going to be what ultimately jacks up that price. Again, especially if it has amazing natural features. So you have this phenomenon right now in the country where everybody wants to, they want to go wild, as you said. Mm-hmm. They want to have their own land, but they can only afford those 10-acre parcels. So if one parcel goes up, there's like 20 or 30 different offers on it, like within days. Okay. Meanwhile, when you get to the level of lands that are $5 million, $10 million, $25, $45 million, okay, the price per acre becomes incredibly cheap, like outrageously cheap. So yeah. I was talking about how it might be like $100,000 for like a tenth of an acre, right? But when you get to the $45 million zone, you can afford land for $1,000 an acre, and it is the absolute most gorgeous land in the world because it might used to have been owned by a CEO of a company, right? So like, the land that we just sold out in Texas, that was owned by the CEO of a company that was doing over $40 million a year, right? And this was his retreat for when he was, he just wanted to chill out from the stresses of the city. So this is like the most pristine land that you could possibly imagine. Yeah. There was another property that we were interested in. Sadly, we couldn't do that specific deal because some investment fund bought it. But it was literally Walt Disney's retreat.
Oh my gosh.
Literally, when Walt Disney wanted to take a break, he would go out to this area. It was over in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And he would go for this, he would hang out over there. Mm-hmm. And if you look in that area, right, of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, to buy 10 acres of land and have a nice home in that specific area, easily you're looking at $20 million, okay? Versus we were going to be offering for that specific one, it was going to be like $500,000 for 10 acres in that area. So $500,000 versus 20 mil, that's the difference.
Yeah.
that
Gosh,
exists.
that's
So
insane. That is insane. So these properties, I mean, what's been the biggest property you bought so far to do this on?
So the next property we're doing right now is a Florida property that is over 1,300 acres. That's
Wow.
what we're looking at right now. But that's like we're just getting the engine started, guys. We're just
Mhm.
getting so the smallest is 492 acres. We're doing 1,300 acres, but like pretty soon we've got some plans for some 4,000 acre properties.
Mm-hmm. That is incredible. What right now? Are you guys just trying to plant one of these in every state and then start expanding per state, or I guess what's the goal right now for you
So
guys?
the goal right now is that we have to be honest, the biggest goal is to shut people up. That's honestly
Mm,
the biggest goal, to shut people up. Because the amazing thing and the sad thing about everything that we do is that for those who don't get it yet, the haters, right? They're just, oh, this is too good to be true,
mm-hmm.
right? It can't be real. You can't do this because there's just naysayers, right? You
Right.
just have sad naysayers. But I don't really care about that. If you have anything disruptive, you're going to have that anyways, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's par for the course.
Right.
The hardest thing we have to deal with as a company is actually the people who are a fan of everything that we're doing, people who love what we're talking about, and their mindset is still to go, oh, it must be too good to be true. Like, I can't do it. Like, most people honestly have a slave mindset. Most people do give in to their own doubts.
Yeah.
And so we're doing everything we can to really shut those doubts up and really make people realize, like, no, this is real and this is possible. Because, again, a lot of people would rather say no, this can't be real. I'd rather be a hater on it,
Mm-hmm.
then realize like, oh, this is real. Because when people find out like this is real, it is possible. Now they have to face their own personal responsibility and face the harsh reality of like, you've been talking for years about doing this, right? And now it's been handed to you on a silver platter, and you're still taking inaction. You're still in your comfort zone, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
harsh reality for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's really, really harsh. Oh, I've been talking about that, but I'm still such a slave to my corporate job. I'd rather just stay with that. Let me rather believe that it's not real, so that I don't have to do anything. That's what happens for most people.
Well, I guess the ideal clientele, but who are the people that are buying these right now? Because you've sold, I mean, as you said, you've sold a ton. So who are the people that are buying these?
Yeah, so for anybody listening in, like the context, like so we started our first ranch very recently. It was Texas. There was 40 parcels. We sold that out. It took us 50 days. We were going for Tennessee, and I haven't even announced it yet, and we're already sold out just from the pre-sales. And that's another 38 that we sold out. Florida, we're now at 12 reservations for Florida. If you add up the Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming region, that's another 10 people. We've had some in Kansas, stuff like that. Now, I give you all that to say, I might be the only CEO that I know that is doing what we're doing, like at this level of the game,
Mm-hmm.
okay? With this type of valuation that talks to every single customer.
That's
I
cool.
call every single last one of our parcel reservees and I congratulate them and I have an hour-long conversation about their hopes, their fears, the obstacles, their setbacks, everything. So I know what's going on with them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Out of all the people that I've talked to, by this point, it's over 70 plus, right, that I've talked
Yeah.
to. Number one, I didn't expect this, but the vast majority of them have children, multiple children under 5.
Wow.
So I didn't expect, I knew it was going to be a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but I literally expected to be like over 95% of the people that I've talked to, right? That is crazy, okay?
Yeah.
Um, Next, I want to say this. They're what I call de facto Christians, okay? Let me lay this one
Yeah.
out here.
Explain that out.
So de facto Christian stands in opposition to de facto Satanists. All right. So de facto, that word in Latin means in deed or in action. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So a person can call themselves whatever they want. Okay. let's actually look at your actions, because there's people who all day they'll talk. When you look at their actions, it plays out. So de
Yeah.
facto Satanism, right, is that a person might call themselves whatever, but in action they follow the tenets of Satanism. So for example, there's a lot of people, they'll say they're Christian, but they still have a me mindset.
Right.
They still will believe in moral relativism, which, by the way, those are the first two tenets of Satanism: me thinking and selfishness, and then moral relativism, especially
Mm,
in regards to money or power. Okay, those are
wow.
two primary tenets. And so, again, I'll get a lot of people, oh, I'm blah 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 blah. But when it comes down to it, boom, that's when the accuser comes out. That's when the nastiness comes out, and they throw all those niceties right out the window. The next tenets of Satanism are going to be Darwinism, social Darwinism, the belief that there's like one set of people who are going to be better than another set of people, right?
Mm,
And lastly, you're going to see dysgenics, so like the belief that like some people should be cut off or some people should be cut out in some way, shape, or form, or killed off or something like that.
mm,
So, anyways, the de facto Christian is a person that it's not about virtue signaling. Oh, I've gone to church this many times. Virtue signaling about like, oh, well, I've read the Bible this many times a day, every single day, but more like their mindset on like, dude, I want to have this land because I can't wait to feed people, right? That's the deeper understanding. Like I'm going after this land because, not because, you see, like the way that de facto Satanist thinks is that, like, I'll get messages from people who'll be like, oh, I love this. I want to just buy the land because I just want to put in 50 Airbnbs. This is a great exchange on value. When I looked at the interest rates, and this is a great time for the interest rates. You see what I'm saying?
wrong
So,
client. Yeah.
like, they're playing, oh, I'm Christian, but it's like at the end of the day, it's all just about that. Versus like de facto Christian, I'm saying, is someone who goes like, yeah, honestly, God told me to do this, so I'm just going to do it. I don't even know how we're going to be able to come up with this stuff, but I literally just listen to God, and if He told me that this is going to be the right play, then I'm just going to do it.
Hands off.
Right?
Jesus, take the wheel. Right.
Exactly. Right. And so, the next point I want to make, I get people, okay, and I'll be honest, I actually get it the most from the Black community. All right.
Hmm.
Asking me, oh, is this just for a certain group of people? So like, I've had people accuse me of all people. So if anybody could watch this video, they'd understand the irony. Okay, they'll be like, oh, is this just for white people? Is there anybody who's is there anybody who's a minority on the thing? And I'm like, dude, what? Like, do you see who's the CEO for a second?
Oh
You know,
my gosh. Yeah.
I know that sound, but it's because a lot of people have been actually psyoped and they really believe it. I've had people call me Uncle Tom and stuff like that just because I try to offer this. Okay,
Unbelievable.
I had
Yeah.
some of the like unbelievable stuff. So,
Mhm.
we have people from all backgrounds. Okay, so we have people who are, they're white, they're black, they're Hispanic, they're Asian, okay, they're Hawaiian, the native. I've got multiple, not one, not two, not three, but four different examples of people who are Native American. They're over the moon about what we're doing because they're like, oh my gosh, this is a great way to take back some more land. Like, this is a great opportunity with regards to that.
Yeah.
And again, everybody, they have these family values. They all understand, okay, like the state's an issue, the bank's an issue, tech is an issue. They understand those aspects, and they understand, see the value, and they're excited to move God's kingdom forward by taking action. And they see that coming out in this community, and they're done with all the talk. They're ready to take action. That's just what I notice with everybody.